Hello guys, this is 12th Harbinger and welcome to my channel. In this video, I am going to give you some advanced tips and tricks to maximize Arlecchino's damage. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Let's start with Arlecchino's optimal normal attack combos. Well, you can just spam her normal attacks if you don't want any complicated tech, but there are combos that are more optimal and gives you more damage. Two of the best combos are N3- and N5-. The N3- offer higher damage. This combo also aids in survivability as you are frequently dashing, however it is less stamina efficient, which means you can run out of stamina as you are dashing more often. The N5- combo is more stamina efficient and is much easier to execute. Here we skip the last hit of her normal attack string. The last hit does have the highest multiplier, but it takes a lot of time to execute. Your combo will keep changing depending on the boss as you need to dash whenever necessary to dodge attack. So don't stress too much on following a specific combo. The next tip is quite painful for us Arlecchino simps. It is skipping this amazing burst animation. Yes, skipping her burst animation can result in higher DPS. The first reason is her burst animation is quite long. Using the burst consumes Bond of Life, which means that her burst will consume the remaining 30% Bond of Life at the end of her rotation. But if you skip her burst, you can carry forward this Bond of Life for the next rotation, which results in higher damage as more Bond of Life equals more damage. Skipping her burst is optimal in teams with a shielder like Zhongli as you can just tank the damage with shield. However, without a shielder, you may want to use her burst whenever necessary as this is the only means of survival for Arlecchino. If you manage to dodge the attacks and your Arlecchino has a good health, you can consider skipping her burst unless you are down bad for her and want to keep seeing the burst animation. With Staff of Homa, you can skip the burst as keeping Arlecchino at low HP will give you more damage. But again, prioritize survivability over more damage. Don't do this unless you are sure you can survive. Vape teams are very popular with Arlecchino as it is satisfying to see the big vaporize hits. Let's first take a look at her normal vape rotation. We first use her skill, which applies Pyro on the enemy. After that we use Yelan's skill and burst. We use skill first so that we can catch the hydro particles with Yelan. After that we use Bennett's burst. Yelan's burst hydro is strong. As a result, Bennett's burst doesn't remove the hydro aura. Then we move to Kazuha and use his hold skill for double swirl. Why hold skill and not burst? The reason is, burst takes up a lot of time and using his burst in single target situation doesn't matter much. Also his burst will absorb Pyro, which can mess up some of our vape hits. Why not tap skill? The reason is simple. It's because Kazuha's tap skill cannot double swirl, so we need to hold it. After all the supports are done, we move on to Arlecchino. Do her charge attack to absorb the mark and spam her normal attack combos. Arlecchino has a standard ICD of 2.5 seconds, which means she will vaporize every 3 hits. However, Arlecchino's initial hits have the highest damage, as during that time she has the highest amount of Bond of Life. Her damage is very front-loaded, so vaporizing the initial hits will increase her damage by a lot. As you saw in our normal vaporized team's rotation, the initial hits didn't vaporize. There's a trick that we can use to make her initial hits vaporize consistently, and it is quite simple. You first start with your normal rotation. Mark with Arlecchino. Use Yelan's E and Q, Bennett Q and Kazuha hold. Then before absorbing the mark, just do 3 normal attack hits, and as you can see, she can vaporize her initial hits, which is a significant damage boost. Don't worry if your Bennett is C6, it still works. Xingqiu is an alternate option for Yelan. The rotation remains the same. Arlecchino's skill, then use Xingqiu's skill and burst, or burst then skill if he is C4 or higher. Just use a normal attack after using Bennett's burst to reapply hydro for double swirl. Sacrificial is a popular choice on Xingqiu as it lets you cast his skill twice. However, I recommend using other weapon options like Favonius to reduce his field time. And instead of Kazuha you can use Sucrose. In this team, double swirling with her becomes difficult as unlike Kazuha, she cannot swirl the element inflicted on her. So focus on only swirling Pyro. If there's a way to double swirl with Sucrose in this team, do let me know in the comments. You can easily swirl Pyro if you are using her with Yelan. Start with Arlecchino's skill, then use Yelan's burst and then use her skill, so as to allow Bennett to remove the hydro aura with his burst. Before switching out Bennett, Use his skill to apply Pyro, and then swirl Pyro with Sucrose's skill and switch to Arlecchino. Here, since you can switch to Arlecchino right after Sucrose, you can use R5 Thrilling Tales on Sucrose. It becomes a bit tricky in Xingqiu teams to swirl Pyro, as Xingqiu's rain swords apply Hydro to nearby enemies. So in such situations, you need to swirl Pyro before using Xingqiu's burst. Here's the rotation of Arlecchino's F2P team. Start with Arlecchino's skill as usual. Then use Bennett's burst. Switch to Sucrose and use her skill. Then switch to Xingqiu to use his skill and burst, or burst then skill if he is C4. The switch to Arlecchino. Mono Pyro team's rotations are quite simple, as we don't do any reactions and just focus on raw Pyro damage. Just make sure that you use Xiangling's skill and burst after using Kazuha and Bennett so that she can snapshot the buffs. Also for Mono Pyro teams, you can slightly reduce the energy recharge of your other Pyro characters like Xiangling and build more offensive stats on them, as Arlecchino generates 5 particles, which is a lot. Many of us forget that Arlecchino is quite flexible. You can switch to other characters between her rotations. The bond of life reduces with her normal attacks, so switching her out won't decrease her bond of life as well. This becomes extremely convenient against multiple waves, where you can easily refresh her buffs without having to restart your rotation, unlike some other DPS characters who have strict rotations. Her skill range is quite large. You can use her skill to immediately close the gap between enemies, which saves some time. Similar to her skill range, her mark absorbing range is also quite large. You can absorb the mark without even hitting the enemy with her charged attack. You just need to stay within the range. We all know that Arlecchino cannot get healed by anything else other than her burst. What about the buffs that require healing to activate, like Chevreuse C6, Songs of the Days Past, or Ocean Clam set? Surprisingly, these buffs or sets work on Arlecchino and Trigger without any problem, so don't avoid using them. Here are some general tips. Against multiple enemies, you can absorb the mark even without waiting for 5 seconds, as the maximum amount of bond of life you can gain by absorbing the marks is 145%. Against 3 or more enemies, even if you don't wait for 5 seconds after applying the mark, you can gain 145% bond of life, as each mark will give 65% bond of life. Maximum amount of bond of life a character can have is 200%. The HP bar is completely outlined by the red indicator when the bond of life has reached 200%. At 100%, it covers only half of the HP bar. 30% bond of life looks like this, so you can check your bond of life and predict when your rotation is about to end. Always try to double swirl with Anemo characters. Kazuha is the best for this, as he can easily do it. It is difficult to do with other Anemo characters like Sucrose, so with such characters try to at least swirl Pyro. Don't forget about your support builds. For example, if you are using Zhongli instead of Kazuha, you can use Archaic Petra on him if you don't mind picking up crystallized shards. Start with Arlecchino's skill. This will apply Pyro. Use Zhongli's skill, and you can easily pick up the Pyro shard this way, unless the enemies are infused with some other elements. So in such situations, you can just stick to Tenacity set. And that was all for this video. If you guys have any other tips, do let me know in the comments. I have made multiple guide videos for Arlecchino, so do check them out. I will link them in description. Don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe for more Genshin Impact content. Thanks for watching.